It's 3 a.m. You're lying in bed trying to sleep, and then, out of nowhere, it hits you. Something you said at a party 5 years ago, a joke that didn't land, a moment where you tripped or stumbled over your words or called your teacher mom, a text you sent to the wrong person, something so small, so forgettable in the grand scheme of your life, and yet here it is, playing on a loop inside your head like your brain specifically chose tonight to punish you for it. Why does this happen? Why does your brain drag you back to these moments, sometimes years later, with the same intensity as if they just happened? The answer isn't that you're weak, or neurotic, or too self-conscious. The answer is that your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And once you understand the mechanism, you can never look at embarrassment the same way again. Let's start with what embarrassment actually is. Embarrassment is not a simple emotion. It's not just feeling bad. It's a social emotion, meaning it only exists in relation to other people. You can feel sad alone in a room. You cannot feel embarrassed alone in a room because embarrassment requires an audience, real or imagined. It's the feeling that arises when your public image, the version of yourself you want others to see, suddenly doesn't match what just happened. You wanted to appear competent. You spilled the coffee. You wanted to sound smart. You blanked on a word. The gap between who you meant to appear to be and who you appeared to be in that moment, that gap is embarrassment. And here's what makes it different from shame or guilt. You don't have to have done anything wrong. The person who trips on flat ground and falls in public didn't make a moral error, but they still feel the same burning flush of embarrassment that someone who said something genuinely awkward does. Because embarrassment isn't about morality, it's about social exposure. Your brain runs a continuous background process, one that social psychologists call impression management. Every moment of every day, a part of your mind is tracking how you appear to others. What do they think of me? Am I coming across well? Are they judging me? This isn't vanity, it's a survival system. For most of human history, social rejection wasn't just uncomfortable, it was lethal. Being cast out from the group meant death, no food, no shelter, no protection. So your brain evolved to treat social threats with the same urgency as physical ones. When something embarrassing happens, your brain files it as a threat. Not a minor inconvenience, a threat, and just like it would with a near-miss car accident or a predator in the bushes, it stores the memory with high emotional intensity so that you'll remember it, review it, and hopefully never repeat it. The problem is that the same system that's trying to protect you is also the one replaying the memory at 3 a.m. There's a specific psychological concept that explains the replay loop. It's called the Zygarnik effect. In the 1920s, a Soviet psychologist named Bluma Zygarnik noticed something strange. Waiters in a cafe could remember the details of open, unpaid orders with remarkable precision. But once a bill was settled, once the task was complete, the details vanished almost immediately. Her conclusion: the brain holds onto unresolved things. Incomplete tasks stay active in working memory. Finished ones get filed away. Embarrassing memories stay unresolved because you can never actually close them. You can't go back in time and unsay the thing. You can't undo the moment. You can't get confirmation from everyone who witnessed it that they've forgotten it and moved on. So the file stays open. Your brain keeps returning to it, looking for a resolution that never comes, generating mental rehearsals of what you should have said, what you could have done differently. What might have happened if only? This is your brain's attempt to solve an unsolvable problem. And then there's something called the spotlight effect. Psychologists at Cornell ran a study where they had participants wear a t-shirt with a large, embarrassing image on it, a picture of Barry Manilow, and then enter a room full of people. Afterward, participants were asked to estimate how many people in the room noticed the shirt. The participants guessed around 50%. The actual number? Around 25%. People consistently overestimate how much others notice them, how much others remember their mistakes, and how long others dwell on those mistakes. Because from inside your own head, you are always center stage. You feel the spotlight burning down on you, but most people in that room were too busy managing their own spotlight to pay much attention to yours. The embarrassing moment that has lived rent-free in your head for 3 years, the people who witnessed it have almost certainly forgotten it. Not because it wasn't meaningful to you, but because they were never as focused on you as you assumed. But here's where it gets interesting. Even when you know this, even when you intellectually understand that nobody remembers, nobody cares, it's been years, the replay doesn't stop. Why? Because the replay isn't really about the external audience. It's about your internal one. The part of your brain that replays embarrassing moments isn't trying to tell you that other people are judging you. It's the part that's doing the judging itself. Psychologists call this the internal critic, the internalized voice of every standard you've ever been held to, every expectation you've absorbed from parents, teachers, peers, culture. The internal critic doesn't care whether the audience from 5 years ago remembers. The internal critic was there. The internal critic saw. And it has a very long memory. This is why self-compassion research consistently shows that the harshest judges of our mistakes aren't other people. They're us. There's one more layer here that most people don't think about. Embarrassing memories are almost always tied to something you care about. You don't lie awake replaying a moment when you mispronounced a word in front of people you never wanted to impress. You lie awake replaying moments that happened in front of people whose opinions mattered to you, in contexts where you wanted to show up well, around values or identities that are important to you. The loop is proportional to the meaning, which means that if you trace a painful replay back to its source, if you ask what exactly you're embarrassed about and why, you'll find something worth knowing. You'll find a value, a longing, something you want that you haven't acknowledged out loud. The person who can't stop thinking about the joke that bombed cares about making people laugh, about connection, about belonging. The person replaying the presentation they stumbled through cares about being seen as competent, about respect, about what they're capable of. The embarrassment is pointing at something real. So what do you do with all of this? First, understand that the replay is not a malfunction. Your brain is doing its job. It flagged a social threat, it stored the memory, and it keeps returning to it looking for resolution. You're not broken. You're human. Second, recognize that the spotlight effect is real. The audience you're performing for in your head is almost certainly larger than the one that actually remembers. Most people are too absorbed in their own embarrassing memories to catalog yours. Third, try closing the loop on purpose. Since the Zeigarnik effect tells us the brain replays unresolved things, give it a resolution, write about the memory, talk about it. Let yourself fully feel the embarrassment instead of pushing it away. Sometimes the act of confronting it directly, rather than avoiding it, is what finally allows the file to close. And fourth, listen to what the replay is pointing at. Behind every embarrassing memory is something you wanted, something you were reaching for. The gap between who you were and who you wanted to be in that moment. That gap isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign of aspiration, and that's actually something worth holding on to, even at 3 a.m.